Play it again. Marco's voice cut through the silence of his office. His second-in-command, Tony, hesitated at the laptop and replied, "Boss, you've seen it 4 times already." I said play it again. The footage rolled. Grainy hotel hallway camera. Timestamp. 11:47 p.m., 2 nights ago. There she was. Vivian. His wife of 6 years, her dark hair cascading over shoulders he'd kissed 1,000 times. She knocked on room executive suite door 718. Opened. Julian Ripley appeared in the frame. Marco's childhood friend. His right hand. The man who'd taken a bullet for him in the Warehouse District shootout 3 years back. The man Marco trusted with his life. They embraced. But that wasn't the knife in Marco's chest. He'd suspected the affair for weeks. The late-night charity events. The new perfume. The way she flinched when he touched her. Well, the real betrayal came next. Julian pulled Vivian inside. The camera angle switched to the interior feed Marco's tech guy had hacked from hotel security. The audio crackled to life. "Victor's offering $3 million and safe passage to Monaco," Julian said, pouring 2 glasses of wine. "But we need the shipment routes and the location of the eastern warehouses. Once Victor's crew hits them simultaneously, Marco's empire collapses. He'll have nothing." Vivian laughed. Actually laughed. "He'll be destroyed. Finally. God, I've waited so long to watch that arrogant bastard fall. After Victor takes over, we'll have twice the influence and none of the risk," Julian continued. "Marco built something beautiful. He's just too blind with pride to see he's made himself the biggest target in the city." Marco's hand tightened around the crystal glass in his grip. The liquid inside trembled. "When do we move?" Vivian asked. "Tomorrow night. Victor wants him dead by the weekend. The hit's already arranged. Hotel Elysium, where Marco's meeting the Boston connection. They'll never see it coming." The timestamp on that footage read yesterday morning, which meant the hit was tonight. In 4 hours. Marco looked up from the screen. Around his oak desk stood his 5 most trusted men. Except trusted was a word that had lost all meaning in the last 72 hours since an anonymous tip had landed in his burner phone. A single text. "Your queen and your knight are playing for the other side. Check room 718, Hotel Grandeur. Surveillance will tell you everything." He'd wanted it to be a lie. "Where's Julian now?" Marco asked quietly. The kind of quiet that made grown men nervous. "He's heading to the Hotel Elysium," Tony replied. "Said he was checking the perimeter for your meeting tonight. Making sure it's secure." Of course he did. "And Vivian? At the estate. Said she has a migraine." Marco stood. 6'2" of controlled rage wrapped in a custom Italian suit. He'd built his empire from nothing. Orphaned at 12. Running territory by 18. Ruling the entire eastern seaboard by 30. He was 36 now, and everything he'd bled for was being sold off by the 2 people he'd loved most. "Change of plans," Marco said. "We're going to the Elysium. But not for the meeting." Tony raised an eyebrow. "You're walking into their trap." "I'm springing it early." Marco grabbed his jacket from the chair. "Call our crew. I want 20 men surrounding that hotel in 30 minutes. Full arms. But quiet. No police attention until this is done." "And Julian?" Marco's jaw tightened. "I'll handle Julian myself." "Boss," one of his men, Frankie, spoke up. "Victor's got to have at least a dozen shooters in and around that hotel. This is suicide." "Then it's suicide." Marco headed for the door, then paused. "Oh, and someone send flowers to my beloved wife. White lilies. The kind you send to funerals. I want them waiting for her when she wakes up tomorrow. If there was a tomorrow. Hey there, my wonderful friend. How's your day going? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this story so far. Drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from. Have you ever had someone you trusted betray you? Let me know below." The drive to Hotel Elysium took 20 minutes through city streets slick with recent rain. Marco sat in the back of his armored sedan, silent, watching streetlights blur past. His phone buzzed. Vivian's name lit up the screen. "Where are you? I thought you'd be home by now." "I'm worried." He almost laughed. Worried. She was probably worried he'd figured it out. Worried her $3 million payday was at risk. He didn't answer. Just powered the phone off and slipped it into his pocket. The hotel rose ahead. 12 stories of luxury and discretion. The kind of place where powerful people made deals that never saw daylight. Marco had done business here 100 times. Tonight it would run red. "Circle back," he told his driver. "I'm going in through the kitchen entrance. Tony, you and the crew cover every exit. No one leaves without my say-so." "You got it, boss." Marco stepped out into the cool night air 3 blocks away, walking the distance alone. It was stupid, reckless. But rage had a way of making calculated men do reckless things. The kitchen entrance was propped open with a rubber wedge, deliveries still coming in even at this hour. Marco slipped inside, past stainless steel counters and hanging pots, past prep cooks too busy to notice another man in a dark coat. He knew the layout. Julian's intel said the meeting, the hit, would happen in the 7th floor conference suite. Private elevator access. Soundproof walls. Perfect for an execution. Marco took the service stairs. His leather shoes silent on concrete. Each floor passed in a blur. 3rd, 4th, 5th. At the 6th floor landing, the door burst open. A woman stumbled through, nearly colliding with him. She gasped, dropping the bundle of linens in her arms. White sheets scattered across the stairs like snow. "I'm so sorry," she stammered, immediately bending to gather them. "I didn't think anyone used these stairs. I'm so sorry." Marco's hand had instinctively gone to the gun at his hip, but he didn't draw. The woman wasn't a threat. She wore a simple housekeeping uniform. Her honey-colored hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her eyes, when they met his, were the color of summer storms. Gray and green and utterly startled. "It's fine," Marco said curtly, moving to step past her. "Wait." Her hand shot out, not touching him but blocking his path. "You can't go up there." He froze. "Excuse me." She straightened, clutching the linens to her chest like a shield. "The 7th floor. You're going to the 7th floor, aren't you?" "Can't. There are men with guns. I saw them when I was turning down the suite. They're waiting for someone." Marco studied her. Really looked. She was trembling, afraid. But she'd stopped him anyway. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emma. Emma Carter. I work housekeeping." She swallowed hard. "Look, I don't know what kind of business happens in this hotel. Keep my head down, I do my job, I go home. But I saw those men and I heard them talking, and someone's going to die tonight if they go up there. Is that you? Are you walking into something bad?" "Smart girl. Why do you care?" Marco asked. Emma's eyes searched his face. "Because you look like someone who doesn't know it's a trap. And maybe I'm stupid for saying anything. Maybe I should just let whatever happens happen. But I can't." Her voice dropped. "My little brother was killed in gang crossfire 2 years ago. Wrong place, wrong time. If I can stop someone else from dying tonight, even if they're part of this world, I have to try." Something in Marco's chest cracked. Just a hairline fracture. But enough. "How many men?" he asked. "I saw 4 in the suite. But I heard one of them on the phone saying, the others are positioned in the stairwell and by the main elevator. So more than 4. Julian had brought an army. What floor are you parked?" Marco asked suddenly. Emma blinked, confused. "What? Your cleaning cart. What floor?" "5th. Why? Take me there. Now." She hesitated for only a second, then nodded, leading him back down the stairs to the 5th floor corridor. Her cart sat outside room 512, stocked with towels, bottles of cleaning solution, and vacuum attachments. Marco scanned the hallway. "Me." He pulled out his phone, powered it back on, and texted Tony. "They know I'm coming. Full ambush, 7th floor. Initiate protocol red." Evacuate civilians first. Then we go loud. Protocol read. The nuclear option. His crew would pull the fire alarm, force an evacuation, then storm the building under the cover of chaos. You need to leave, Marco told Emma. Right now. This hotel's about to become very dangerous. It already is dangerous, she countered. And I'm not leaving until the guests are safe. That's my job. Stubborn. Brave. Foolish. Before Marco could argue, the lights went out. Emergency backup lights flickered on, bathing everything in eerie red. Then gunfire erupted from above. Shouting, screams, had started. Get down! Marco shoved Emma behind the cleaning cart as the stairwell door exploded open. Two of Victor's men burst through, guns drawn, scanning for targets. They spotted Marco immediately. The first one raised his weapon. Marco was faster. His gun cleared leather and barked twice. Both men dropped. Emma's sharp inhale cut through the ringing in his ears. Stay behind me, Marco ordered, moving toward the stairwell. More footsteps thundered from above. They were coming. This was supposed to be a calculated strike. Get in, confront Julian, eliminate the threat, get out. Now it was war. And somewhere in this building, Julian and Victor's crew were realizing their trap had been sprung early. Marco's phone buzzed. Tony's voice crackled through. Boss, we've got civilians evacuating, but there's resistance on 7 and 8. They've got the conference suite locked down. Julian's inside. I'm coming up, Marco said. Negative, you've got 3 shooters heading down the east stairwell toward your position. Marco glanced at Emma, still crouched behind her cart, eyes wide with terror but not running, not screaming. Just watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. There's a woman with me, Marco said into the phone. Civilian. I need extraction for her. I can get myself out, Emma said quietly. But those guests on the upper floors can't. The elderly couple in 815. The family with the baby in 734. If your men are starting a war in this building, they'll be caught in the crossfire. She was right. Marco made a decision that would change everything. Tony, reroute 2 men to civilian protection. Floors 7 and 8. Get them out through the west emergency exit. He looked at Emma. You're going to guide them. Tell my men which rooms have people who can't move fast. Why would they listen to me? Because I'm telling them to. Marco pulled off his silver ring, the one with his family crest. He pressed it into her palm. Show them this. They'll know you speak for me. Emma stared at the ring, then at him. Who are you? Someone who's running out of time. The stairwell door burst open again. This time Marco was ready. 3 men poured through the stairwell door, weapons raised. Marco fired first, taking down the lead shooter. The other 2 scattered, one diving behind a luggage rack, the other pressing flat against the wall. Room 512 now. Marco barked at Emma. She didn't argue. Just scrambled for the door, fishing a master keycard from her uniform pocket. The lock beeped green. He shoved it open. Marco laid down covering fire, backing toward the room as return shots splintered the doorframe. He crossed the threshold and Emma slammed the door shut, throwing the deadbolt. The dresser, Marco said. Help me. Together they shoved the heavy furniture against the door. Just in time. Fists pounded from the other side. Then gunshots. The wood splintered but held. They'll breach in 60 seconds, Marco assessed, reloading his weapon with practiced efficiency. He crossed to the window, looked down. 5th floor. Too high to jump. Fire escape 20 feet to the left. His phone rang. Tony. Status, Marco answered. Julian's making a run for it. West exit, headed for the parking garage. You want us to grab him? Every instinct screamed yes. Julian needed to pay. To bleed. To understand what betrayal cost. But Marco looked at Emma, pressed against the wall, clutching his ring so tight her knuckles were white. She could have run. Should have. Any sane person would have. Let him go, Marco said. The words tasted like poison. Focus on civilian extraction and securing our exit. Boss, this is our shot. I said let him go. Marco's control cracked. Get those people out, Tony. That's an order. Silence. Then, copy that. Marco ended the call. The pounding on the door intensified. Voices shouted in Russian. Victor's crew. Why did you do that? Emma asked quietly. Do what? Let him go. Whoever Julian is, he set you up. I could hear it in your voice. But you let him escape. Marco turned to face her fully. You asked me to protect the civilians. Can't do that if my men are chasing personal vendettas. But, you think I'm a good man? Marco laughed, bitter. I'm not. I've done things that would make you sick. I've hurt people, killed people, built an empire on blood and fear. But tonight, you risked your life to warn a stranger about an ambush. The least I can do is make sure your bravery isn't wasted. Emma held his gaze. You're Marco De Luca. The Marco De Luca. Not a question. A realization. You've heard of me. Everyone's heard of you. She didn't look afraid though. It is sad. My brother, the one who died, he idolized you. Said you were a king. Untouchable. I told him kings die just like everyone else. You were right, Marco said. Tonight proved that. The dresser shuddered as something heavy rammed the door. They were out of time. Marco made a decision. He opened the window, gestured for Emma to come close. Can you climb? What? The fire escape. Can you reach it if I boost you? Emma looked out at the 20-foot gap and the 5-story drop. That's insane. It's survival. Choose. She took a breath, then nodded. Okay, yes. Marco holstered his gun, laced his fingers together to make a step. On 3. 1. 3. Emma placed her foot in his hands. He lifted with everything he had, pushing her up and out. She grabbed the window frame, pulled herself onto the narrow ledge outside. For a terrifying moment she teetered, arms windmilling. Then she jumped. Felt like slow motion. Her body arcing through empty air. Fingers grasping. Etching. She slammed into the fire escape railing, legs dangling but her grip held. Climb down. Marco shouted. Don't wait for me. But Emma didn't climb down. She scrambled onto the platform, then looked back at him. Jump. I'll help pull you in. You can't. The door exploded inward. The dresser skidded across the floor. Men poured in. Marco didn't think. He launched himself out the window. His hands found the railing. The impact jarred his shoulders, sent lightning bolts of pain down his arms. His grip started to slip. Then Emma's hands locked around his wrists. I've got you. Climb. She didn't have the strength to pull him up, but she anchored him long enough for Marco to get his feet against the building wall. He hauled himself over the railing, collapsing onto the metal grating beside her. Gunfire erupted from the window above. Bullets pinged off metal. Go! Marco pushed Emma toward the ladder. They scrambled down, floor by floor, until they hit the third-floor platform. Marco kicked out a window, and they tumbled into another guest room. This one was empty. Bed made. Lights off. The evacuation had cleared it. They stood there, breathing hard, covered in sweat and adrenaline. You came back for me, Marco said. Emma met his eyes. You protected those people. The least I could do was make sure your decency wasn't wasted. She'd thrown his own words back at him. Despite everything, Marco smiled. Actually smiled. When was the last time he'd done that genuinely? His phone buzzed. Tony again. Buildings clear. Civilians out. We lost 2 men but eliminated 8 of Victor's crew. The rest scattered. Police are 3 minutes out. We need to move. Headed down now, Marco confirmed. He looked at Emma. My people are evacuating. Can get you out clean. No police questions, no involvement. You'll be safe. What about you? I'll handle the fallout. This is my world. You don't belong in it. Emma studied him for a long moment. Then she did something unexpected. She opened her palm, revealing his ring. Earlier you trusted me with this. Why? You tried to save my life. That's worth more than silver. That's not an answer. Marco took the ring back, their fingers brushing. Because in 36 years, I've met 1,000 people who wanted something from me. Power. Money. Protection. You're the first person who wanted to give me something. A warning. Chance. You expected nothing in return. I expected you to live, Emma said softly. Why? Because everyone deserves a chance to be better than their worst moment. Something in Marco's chest, that hairline fracture from earlier, split wider. Footsteps pounded in the hallway outside. His men. Boss! Tony's voice, followed by pounding on the door. You in there? Marco unlocked it. Tony burst in with 3 others, weapons drawn, scanning for threats. We're clear, Marco said. This is Emma Carter. She saved my life tonight. No one touches her. Understood. 4 heads nodded in unison. Tony's eyes flicked between Marco and Emma, reading something in his boss's expression. Understood. But we need to move. Police are 1 minute out. They rushed through the hotel's service corridors, emerging in the underground parking garage where 3 black SUVs waited, engines running. Marco guided Emma toward the middle vehicle. We'll take you home, he said. Where do you live? Emma hesitated. For the first time, fear crept into her expression. Not of him. Of something else. I can't go home, she whispered. Why not? Because Victor's people saw me. In the stairwell. When I was showing your men which rooms to evacuate. They saw me helping you. Her voice shook. If they know where I live, if they know who I am. She didn't have to finish. Marco understood perfectly. By saving him, Emma had painted a target on her own back. And Victor didn't forgive. Didn't forget. Get in, Marco said quietly. Where are we going? Somewhere safe. I owe you that much. Emma climbed into the SUV. Marco slid in beside her. Tony took the front passenger seat, and the convoy pulled out into the night just as police sirens wailed in the distance. They drove in silence for 10 minutes, leaving the city proper behind, heading into the hills where estates sprawled behind gates and walls. Emma stared out the window. What happens now? Now. Marco leaned back against the leather seat. Now everything changes. He didn't tell her that while they'd been fighting for their lives, he'd already made a decision. One that would shock the entire criminal underworld. One that would protect her and send a message to everyone who thought Marco De Luca could be destroyed. By morning the whole city would know. The king wasn't dead. And he'd just found his queen. The estate materialized from the darkness like something out of a dream. Brawling grounds. Stone architecture that spoke of old money and older power. Iron gates that closed behind them with the finality of a prison door. Or a sanctuary. Emma wasn't sure which. Marco led her through corridors lined with art worth more than she'd earn in 10 lifetimes. Past rooms larger than her entire apartment. Staff appeared and disappeared like ghosts, eyes averted, questions unasked. They ended up in a study. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. A fireplace crackling with fresh logs. Leather furniture that probably cost more than her car. Sit, Marco said, not unkindly. He moved to a bar cart, poured 2 glasses of amber liquid. You drink whiskey. I don't really drink. Tonight you do. He pressed the glass into her hand. Trust me. You'll need it. Emma took a tentative sip. It burned going down, but the warmth that followed was almost comforting. Almost. Marco stood by the fireplace, backlit by flames, and for the first time Emma really looked at him. Not the mafia boss. Not the killer. Just the man. He was younger than she'd expected. Mid-30s maybe. Handsome in a dangerous way. Dark hair. Darker eyes. A jaw that looked like it had been carved from granite. But it was the exhaustion in his expression that caught her. The weight. He looked like a man who'd been betrayed by his entire world. Thank you, Marco said quietly. For what you did tonight. You didn't have to warn me. Didn't have to help my men. Didn't have to pull me onto that fire escape. But you did. You're welcome, Emma replied. Now what? Now we have a problem. Marco took a long drink. Viktor Volkov. The man who orchestrated tonight's attack. He's ruthless. Methodical. And he doesn't leave loose ends. I'm a loose end. You're a witness who helped his target escape. Worse, you helped eliminate 8 of his men. Viktor will want you dead. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Emma's hand trembled slightly around her glass. So what do I do? Go into hiding? Leave the city? Change my name? You could, Marco said. I'd help you. Money. New identity. A fresh start somewhere Viktor's reach doesn't extend. You'd be safe. But you'd spend the rest of your life looking over your shoulder. Never staying anywhere too long. Never getting close to anyone. Viktor has a long memory and longer reach. He'd find you eventually. Emma set down her glass before she dropped it. Then what's the alternative? Marco turned to face her fully. You become untouchable. How? By marrying me. The words detonated in the quiet room like a bomb. Emma actually laughed. A short, sharp sound of disbelief. I'm sorry, what? Marry me, Marco repeated, completely serious. Tomorrow. A legal ceremony. Binding and public. You've lost your mind. I've lost my wife and my best friend, Marco corrected. My mind is the only thing I have left. And it's telling me this is the only play that makes sense. Emma stood, needing to move, needing space. You can't be serious. We don't even know each other. You can't just marry a random maid because... You're not random, Marco interrupted. You're the woman who saved my life. And in my world that means something. It means everything. In your world, people get married for protection. People get married for a lot less. Marco's voice was steady. Like he was proposing a business merger, not a life commitment. Here's the reality, Emma. If you're my wife, you're family. You hurt my family, you go to war with me. Every crew from here to the coast knows that. Viktor knows that. He's calculating. He won't risk open war with my organization over one woman. Not when he's already lost tonight's battle. So I'd be safe. Completely. And what do you get out of this? The question seemed to catch Marco off guard. He was quiet for a moment, staring into his glass like it held answers. Honestly. Redemption. I don't understand. My wife betrayed me, Marco said quietly. Sold me out for money and a lover. My best friend, the man I considered a brother, tried to have me killed. I've spent years building an empire on loyalty and fear. And in one night I learned it was all built on sand. Everyone I trusted destroyed me. He looked up, and Emma saw something raw in his eyes. Then you appeared in that stairwell, he continued. A stranger with no reason to care whether I lived or died. You risked everything to warn me. To help me. You asked for nothing. Expected nothing. You were kind because that's who you are. So this is about guilt. This is about protection. For both of us. Marco set down his glass. The news of my wife's betrayal will spread by morning. I'll look weak, vulnerable. Every rival crew will see an opportunity to strike. But if I marry you immediately, if I show the world that I've already moved on, that I'm stronger than their schemes, it sends a message. What message? That Marco De Luca doesn't break. He adapts, he survives. And anyone who tries to destroy him will fail. Emma processed this. The logic was insane. But then again, everything about tonight was insane. And when Viktor eventually makes peace with you, when the threat passes, what happens to me then? Then you're free to go. I'll arrange a quiet annulment. You'll walk away with enough money to start anywhere, do anything. You'll never have to clean hotel rooms again unless you want to. Sounded too good to be true. Which meant it probably was. What's the catch? Emma asked. The catch is you'll have to live here. In this house. Under my protection. It won't be a real marriage, but it will have to look real to the outside world. Public appearances. Photos. Enough to sell the story. How long? 6 months. Maybe a year. However long it takes for things to stabilize. Emma walked to the window. Beyond the glass, the estate grounds stretched into darkness. Somewhere out there was her real life. Her tiny apartment in a rough neighborhood. Her job that barely paid rent. Her student loans from a degree she'd never finished after her brother died. Her mother in the nursing home she could barely afford. Her normal, hard, honest life. I need to think about this, she said. You have until sunrise, Marco replied. After that, I make the announcement with or without you. If you say no, I'll still protect you. New identity, new city, financial support. You have my word. Why should I trust your word? Because it's the only thing I have left that means anything. Emma turned to face him. You said your wife's name was Vivian. Do you still love her? The question clearly surprised him. He considered it. I loved who I thought she was. Turns out that person never existed. That doesn't answer the question. No, Marco said firmly. I don't love her. What I feel is rage. Betrayal. A desire for revenge that's eating me alive. But not love. Love requires trust. She killed that. And Julian. Your best friend. Marco's jaw tightened. Julian is a dead man. He just doesn't know it yet. The coldness in his voice should have terrified Emma. Instead she felt something else. Pity. This man had everything. Power. Wealth. Influence. And he was utterly alone. Just like her. I have conditions, Emma heard herself say. Marco's eyebrows rose slightly. I'm listening. My mother. She's in Meadowbrook Care Facility. Alzheimer's. The state insurance barely covers half. I need her moved to somewhere better. Somewhere with actual care. Done. I want to finish my degree. I was 2 semesters away from a teaching credential when my brother died and everything fell apart. If I'm going to be trapped in this house, I want to do something productive with my time. I'll arrange for private tutors. You'll have your degree within the year. And when this is over, when we end this, I want enough money to never be desperate again. Not rich. Just secure. Small house. Savings. Enough to take care of my mom and myself. You'll have it. Emma took a breath. This was insane. Completely insane. But what was the alternative? Run forever. Hope Victor forgot about her. Go back to her life knowing that any day could be her last. At least this way her mother would be cared for. At least she'd finish her education. At least she'd have a future beyond survival. Okay, she said. I'll do it. Something flickered across Marco's face. Relief. Gratitude. It was gone too quickly to identify. There's one more thing you should know, he said carefully. Of course there is. Vivian. I'm not just letting her walk away. She and Julian stole from me. Betrayed me. In my world, there are consequences. You're going to kill them. I'm going to make them pay, Marco corrected. Whether that means death or something worse, I haven't decided. But it will happen. And when it does, you need to be prepared to stand beside me. To play the role of supportive wife. Can you do that? Emma thought of her brother. 16 years old, shot dead because he'd been walking past a corner where a deal went bad. She thought of all the violence this world had taken from her. And now she was agreeing to marry into it. I won't help you hurt anyone, she said firmly. I'll play the role. I'll be your wife in public. But I won't be part of the violence. That's my line. Marco nodded slowly. Agreed. You stay clean. This is my darkness, not yours. Then we have a deal. Marco crossed the room, extended his hand. Emma shook it. His grip was firm. Warm. The handshake of a man sealing a business contract. Not a marriage proposal. Except when Emma tried to pull away, Marco held on for just a second longer. Thank you, he said quietly. You're saving my life for the second time tonight. You're saving mine too, Emma replied. So I guess we're even. Even, Marco agreed, finally releasing her hand. A knock on the door interrupted them. Tony entered, his expression grim. Boss, we've got a situation. What kind of situation? Vivian just arrived. She's demanding to see you. Emma's stomach dropped. Your wife is here. Soon to be ex-wife, Marco corrected. He looked at Tony. Where is she? Main entrance. Making a scene. Says she knows you're here and she's not leaving until you talk to her. Marco's expression hardened. Then let's not keep the lady waiting. He glanced at Emma. You should stay here. No, Emma said, surprising herself. If we're doing this, if I'm going to be your wife by tomorrow, then I should meet her tonight. Otherwise, I'll spend the rest of this arrangement wondering who she was. Marco studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. Not the bitter smile from before. Something genuine. Almost proud. All right, he said. Let's go meet my wife. They walked through the corridors together, Tony trailing behind. With each step, Emma's heart pounded harder. This was real. This was happening. In less than 24 hours, she'd gone from cleaning hotel rooms to agreeing to marry the most dangerous man in the city. And now she was about to face the woman he'd loved and lost. They reached the grand foyer. And there she stood. Vivian De Luca was stunning. The kind of beautiful that belonged on magazine covers. Elegant. Wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than Emma made in 6 months. Her dark hair was perfectly styled despite the late hour. Her makeup flawless. She looked like a queen. Until she saw Marco. Then her mask cracked. Marco, thank God. She rushed forward. I heard about the attack. Are you okay? I was so worried. Stop, Marco said coldly. Just stop. Vivian froze. Her eyes flicked to Emma, assessing, dismissing. Who is this? Your maid. Marco, we need to talk. Privately. Anything you have to say, you can say in front of Emma. Emma. Vivian's laugh was sharp. You're on a first-name basis with the help now? Careful, Marco warned. You're in my house. Show respect. Something dangerous flashed in Vivian's eyes. Your house. This is my house too. I'm your wife. For about 8 more hours, Marco said. Then my lawyers will have the annulment papers ready. You'll sign them. You'll leave. And you'll never use my name again. The color drained from Vivian's face. You can't be serious. Marco, whatever you heard, whatever you think happened. I don't think, Vivian. No. I have footage of you and Julian planning my death. Video and audio. Everything. Vivian's mouth opened. Closed. She looked genuinely shocked. That's not. It wasn't supposed to. Marco, please, you have to understand. I understand perfectly, Marco interrupted. You wanted me dead and you wanted my empire. Victor promised you both. How much was the contract? 3 million. 4. Vivian's silence was answer enough. Get out, Marco said quietly. No. Vivian's shock morphed into anger. You don't get to throw me away like garbage. I gave you 6 years of my life. I played the perfect wife. I smiled at your disgusting friends and pretended to care about your business. I earned my place here. You earned nothing but contempt. And what? Vivian gestured at Emma. You're replacing me with her. A hotel maid. That's pathetic, Marco. Even for you. Marco's hand found Emma's. The touch was gentle but deliberate. Emma is worth 1,000 of you. She's brave, honest, kind. Everything you pretended to be. Vivian's eyes went wide. You can't be serious. Her. You're choosing her. I'm not choosing anyone, Marco said. I'm correcting a mistake. You were the mistake, Vivian. She's the correction. Emma squeezed Marco's hand. It was meant as support, solidarity in the face of Vivian's venom. But something passed between them in that moment. Connection. An understanding. They were both broken people making a desperate choice. And maybe, just maybe, they could survive it together. Vivian saw it. Emma could tell by the way her expression twisted from anger to something uglier. Hatred. You'll regret this, Vivian hissed. Both of you. Victor won't stop. He'll come for you again and again until you're dead. And when you are, I'll dance on your grave. Get her out of here, Marco told Tony. 2 guards appeared, gripping Vivian's arms. She struggled, screaming obscenities, threats, promises of revenge. They dragged her toward the door. Just before she disappeared, she locked eyes with Emma. You're dead, Vivian mouthed. You're already dead. Then she was gone. The foyer fell silent except for the echo of doors slamming. Emma realized she was shaking. Marco's hand was still holding hers. I'm sorry you had to see that, he said quietly. I'm not, Emma replied. I needed to understand what I'm up against. Marco corrected. What we're up against. Emma agreed. Tony cleared his throat awkwardly. Boss, the press is going to hear about Vivian's visit. We should get ahead of the story. Marco nodded. Call our contacts at the major outlets. I want an exclusive ready to run at dawn. He turned to Emma. Last chance to back out. Emma thought of her mother, her brother, her small hard life. And then she thought of the way Marco had let Julian escape to save civilians. The way he'd trusted her with his ring. The way he'd said she was worth 1,000 Vivians. Maybe he was a monster. But tonight he'd been kind. And kindness, in Emma's experience, was rarer than gold. I'm in, she said. Let's give them a wedding to remember. Marco's smile was sharp as a blade. Then let's make it official. By tomorrow morning the whole city will know. Marco De Luca is off the market. And Emma Carter is the most unexpected bride in the city's history, Emma added. The most unexpected, Marco agreed. But maybe exactly what both of us needed. Outside dawn was breaking. New day. New life. And a marriage that would shake the criminal underworld to its foundation. The wedding happened at noon in the estate's private chapel. No guests, no family. Just a judge who owed Marco favors, Tony as witness, and a photographer to document proof for the press. Emma wore a simple white dress that one of the house staff had somehow procured in her exact size within 3 hours. Fit perfectly. Too perfectly. Like everything in this new life, it felt surreal. Marco wore a black suit. No tie. He looked like he was attending a funeral, not a wedding. Maybe he was. The ceremony lasted 8 minutes. The judge spoke words Emma barely heard. Her heart was pounding too loud. When Marco slipped the ring onto her finger, a platinum band with a single diamond, his hands were steady. Hers were shaking. You may kiss the bride, the judge said. Marco leaned in. His lips brushed hers, soft and brief. Kiss for the camera, nothing more. But Emma felt it all the way to her bones. When he pulled back, his dark eyes searched hers. You okay? Ask me in a year, Emma whispered. The photographer snapped the moment. The flash felt like lightning. By 2 p.m. the story broke everywhere. Mafia boss Marco De Luca marries hotel maid hours after wife's betrayal exposed. The headlines screamed across every news outlet, every website, every social media platform. The wedding photo went viral. Emma's face was suddenly everywhere. Strangers were analyzing her dress, her expression, her entire existence. The narrative Marco's people had crafted was simple. Vivian's affair with Julian had been discovered. Marco, heartbroken but resilient, had found solace in Emma Carter, a humble hotel employee who'd shown him kindness when his world fell apart. A modern Cinderella story with a dangerous edge. The truth, of course, was far more complicated. Emma stood in what was now technically her bedroom, a suite 3 times the size of her old apartment, scrolling through her phone in numb disbelief. Her face. Name. Her mother's nursing home had already been contacted by 17 news outlets requesting interviews. Knock on the door. Marco entered without waiting for permission. He'd changed into casual clothes. A black Henley, He looked more human this way. Less like a crime lord. "How are you holding up?" he asked. "I just married a stranger and became internationally famous in the same day," Emma said. "So great. Living the dream." Marco almost smiled. "The attention will die down in a few days. Something else will distract them. And until then you stay on the estate. No public appearances until we control the narrative completely." He paused. "I've already had your mother transferred to Silver Pine Manor. Best Alzheimer's care facility on the East Coast. She'll have round-the-clock nursing, therapy, everything." Emma's throat tightened. "Thank you. It's what we agreed." "Still, thank you." An awkward silence settled between them. Husband and wife. Strangers bound by circumstance and survival. "There's something you should know," Marco said finally. "Victor's already responded." Emma's stomach dropped. "How?" "He sent a gift." Marco's expression darkened. "A funeral wreath. Delivered to the front gate an hour ago." The card said, "Congratulations on your marriage. May it last longer than your life." "He's threatening us." "He's threatening you," Marco corrected. "To get to me." "It's what I expected, but it confirms he's not backing down." "So what do? We show strength. Tomorrow night there's a gathering. The 5 family heads meet quarterly to discuss territory and business. I'm expected to attend. And now so are you." Emma's eyes widened. "You want me to meet other Mafia bosses?" "I want them to see you. To understand that you're under my protection. That hurting you means war with me." Marco stepped closer. "I know it's a lot. But this is how we survive. We make you visible. Untouchable. What if I mess up? Say the wrong thing?" "You won't. Just stay by my side. Look confident. Let me do the talking. And if Victor's there, he will be. That's the point." Marco's voice softened slightly. "I won't let anything happen to you, Emma. You have my word." Emma wanted to believe him. But words were cheap. Her brother had been promised protection by the police. Look how that turned out. Still she nodded. "Okay. I'll do it." "Good." Marco turned to leave, then stopped. "Your tutors start Monday. I've arranged for a full curriculum. You'll have your teaching credential by spring." He left before Emma could respond. She sat on the edge of the massive bed, in the designer dress, wearing a stranger's ring, and tried to remember what her life had been 48 hours ago. Felt like a lifetime. The next evening, Emma stood in front of a mirror while a stylist fussed over her hair. The dress they'd chosen was elegant but modest. Deep emerald green. Long sleeves. Nothing flashy. The goal was to look dignified, not provocative. She looked like someone else entirely. Marco appeared in the doorway, watching her reflection. He wore a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than a car. He looked every inch the powerful crime lord. "You look beautiful," he said. "I look terrified." "That too." He approached, adjusting his cufflinks. "But they won't see that. They'll see strength, confidence. A woman who belongs at my side. Fake it till you make it." Something like that. The drive to the meeting took 40 minutes. Tony drove with 2 cars full of armed guards following. The location was a private estate even larger than Marco's. Sprawling gardens. Fountains. Old money and older secrets. Emma's hands were ice cold. Marco took one, squeezed gently. "Remember, you're Emma DeLuca now. You're my wife. That means something in this world. Means power. Protection. Respect. Does it mean I can throw up in those bushes if I need to?" Marco actually laughed. Real laugh. "If necessary, yes." They entered together, Marco's hand on the small of Emma's back. The gesture was possessive but also protective, guiding her through a world she didn't understand. The meeting room was opulent. Dark wood. Crystal chandeliers. A long table where 4 men already sat. Each had brought security. Each radiated danger. And at the far end sat Viktor Volkov. He was younger than Emma expected. Mid-40s maybe. Handsome in a cold way. Blonde hair. Blue eyes. He smiled when he saw them. That smile made Emma's skin crawl. "Marco," Victor greeted in accented English. "So glad you could join us. And you brought your lovely new bride. How romantic." "Victor," Marco replied coolly. "Thanks for the wedding gift. My dogs enjoyed urinating on it." Tension crackled through the room. The other family heads watched like spectators at a gladiator match. "Please sit." The eldest of the men, a silver-haired figure named Castellano, gestured to empty chairs. "Let's keep this civil. We're here for business, not blood." Marco and Emma sat. Under the table, Marco's hand found hers again. The meeting began. Territory disputes, drug routes, money laundering protocols. Emma understood maybe a quarter of what was discussed. The rest was coded language and veiled threats. But she understood Victor's eyes on her. Assessing. Calculating. Halfway through, during a break, Victor approached. Marco tensed beside her. "Mrs. DeLuca," Victor said smoothly. "May I offer my personal congratulations? It's not every day a hotel maid becomes Mafia royalty. It's not every day a Mafia boss tries to murder someone and fails," Emma replied before she could stop herself. The room went silent. Victor's smile never wavered. "Ah, Spirit. I see why Marco chose you." He leaned in slightly. "But spirit can be extinguished so easily." Marco stood. "Threaten my wife again and this alliance ends tonight." "Alliance?" Victor laughed. "Is that what we have? I was under the impression we had a temporary ceasefire." "Very temporary." "Gentlemen," Castellano intervened. "Please. This isn't productive." But the damage was done. The threat was clear. Victor wasn't afraid of Marco. Wasn't intimidated by the marriage. If anything, he was amused. The meeting continued for another hour. When it finally ended, Emma felt like she'd aged a year. They were halfway to the car when Tony's phone rang. He answered, his expression darkening with each word. "Boss," he said quietly. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Julian." He's surfaced. Reached out through intermediaries. Says he wants to meet. To explain. Marco's jaw clenched. "It's a trap." "Probably. But he's offering intel on Victor's next move. Says it's happening within 72 hours. Says you need to know." Emma watched the conflict play across Marco's face. Julian had betrayed him. Tried to kill him. But if he really did have information about Victor's plans, where does he want to meet? Marco asked. "Neutral ground. The old pier. Tomorrow at midnight." Every instinct Emma had screamed trap. But she also saw the hunger in Marco's eyes. The need for answers. For closure. For revenge. "Don't go," she said quietly. Marco looked at her. "I have to." "No, you don't. This is exactly what Victor wants. Divide your attention. Make you emotional. You go to that pier and you're dead." "She's right, boss," Tony added. "This has setup written all over it." But Marco was already pulling away, climbing into the SUV. "I'm going. But not alone. Full security detail. Snipers on the surrounding buildings. If Julian so much as breathes wrong, he's dead." Emma slid in beside him. "Then I'm coming too." "Absolutely not. You said we're in this together. That means I don't sit at home wondering if you're coming back." "Emma, I'm your wife, remember? For better or worse. Even if it's fake. Even if it's temporary. I don't abandon people." Her voice was steel. "So either I come with you or you tie me up to keep me here. Your choice." Marco stared at her for a long moment. Then, incredibly, he nodded. "Fine. But you stay in the car. Bulletproof glass. At the first sign of trouble, Tony drives you out of there." "Understood." "Understood." The drive back to the estate was tense. Emma stared out the window, her mind racing. 24 hours ago she was a maid. Now she was riding in an armored car, preparing to potentially witness her husband confront the man who betrayed him. Her life had become unrecognizable. Back at the house, Marco disappeared into his office. Emma retreated to her room, but sleep was impossible. Paced. Tried to read. Failed. Around 2 a.m. she wandered downstairs looking for tea. That's when she overheard the conversation. Tony was in Marco's office. The door was slightly ajar. Their voices carried into the hallway. "Boss, there's something you need to know about Emma." Emma froze. "What about her?" Marco's voice was cautious. "I did a deep background check. Standard procedure for anyone entering the family. Most of it's clean. Dead brother, sick mother, financial struggles. All matches her story. But I found a connection. Her brother, the one who was killed 2 years ago. He wasn't just caught in crossfire." Emma's blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" Marco asked. "I'm saying David Carter was on Victor's payroll. Low-level courier. He was making runs for the Volkov crew for 6 months before he died. And he wasn't killed in random gang violence. He was executed for skimming product." "Oh, no, that wasn't true. David was innocent. He was just a kid." "Victor had her brother killed," Tony continued. "Which means Emma has a personal grudge against the man currently trying to kill you. Boss, what if this whole thing is a setup? What if she's working for Victor? What if the hotel warning was staged to get her close to you?" Emma's world tilted. "That's a serious accusation," Marco said quietly. "I know. But think about it. Convenient timing. Right when you're most vulnerable she appears. Saves your life. Becomes indispensable. Now she's inside your house. Life. What if she's the real trap?" Silence. Emma's heart pounded so hard she thought it might explode. Then Marco spoke. "Get out. Boss. I said get out. Emma's not a plant. She's not working for Victor. I know people, Tony. I've spent 20 years reading intentions and motivations. Emma Carter is exactly who she says she is. A woman trying to survive. But the brother means she has every reason to hate Victor, not work for him. It makes her more trustworthy, not less. You're letting your feelings cloud your judgment." "My feelings?" Marco's laugh was bitter. "I don't have feelings. I have strategic assessments. And my assessment is that Emma is clean. Drop this. Now." More silence. Then Tony's footsteps heading toward the door. Emma fled, running silently back to her room. She closed the door, pressed her back against it, and tried to breathe. Her brother, Victor. The truth she'd never known. David hadn't been innocent. He'd been part of this world. And it had killed him. Which meant Emma's entire understanding of her past was built on a lie. And Marco had just defended her. Trusted her. Even when presented with evidence of a potential betrayal. Emma slid down the door, hugging her knees to her chest. Tomorrow they'd go to the pier. Tomorrow Marco would confront Julian. Tomorrow everything could fall apart. But tonight, in this moment, Emma made a decision. Marco had chosen to trust her. Despite the risks. Despite the doubts. It was time she started trusting him too. Even if it meant facing the darkest parts of her past. Even if it meant admitting that the brother she'd mourned might not have been the person she thought he was. Even if it meant accepting that she belonged to this violent, dangerous world more than she'd ever wanted to admit. Outside her window, the estate lights glowed against the darkness. And somewhere in the city, Viktor Volkov was planning his next move. The game was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. Emma didn't sleep. She sat by her window watching the sky slowly lighten. Her mind replaying Tony's words on an endless loop. Her brother had worked for Victor. Had been killed by Victor. Everything she'd believed about David's death was a lie. When dawn finally broke, she made her way downstairs. Marco was already in the kitchen, drinking coffee, looking like he'd slept even less than she had. "Morning," he said. "Morning." Emma poured herself a cup, her hands steadier than she felt. Can I ask you something? Of course. Last night, Tony's background check on me. You heard what he found about my brother. Marco's expression didn't change. You were listening. The door was open. Emma sat across from him. Is it true? Was David working for Victor? According to the records, yes. Emma stared into her coffee. I didn't know. I swear to you I had no idea. David told me he was working at a warehouse. Night shift. I never questioned it because we needed the money and he seemed happy. Like he finally had purpose. I believe you. Why? Emma looked up. Tony's right to be suspicious. The timing is too convenient. I appear right when you're most vulnerable. I could be working for Victor. But you're not. How do you know? Marco set down his cup. Because Victor would never send someone like you. You're too honest. Too transparent. Every emotion shows on your face. You're a terrible liar, Emma. It's actually refreshing. Despite everything, Emma almost smiled. So I'm trustworthy because I'm a bad spy. You're trustworthy because you warned me in that stairwell expecting nothing in return. Because you pulled me onto that fire escape when you could have run. Because everything you've done has been to protect others, not yourself. Marco's voice was quiet. Victor deals in calculated moves. You're not calculated. You're instinct and heart. That's why I trust you. Emma felt something crack inside her chest. My brother died for nothing. He got involved in this world thinking he could make easy money, and it killed him. I've spent 2 years mourning a martyr when he was just another criminal who got caught. He was 16, Marco said. A kid who made a bad choice. That doesn't erase who he was to you. Doesn't it? How do I reconcile the brother I knew with the person who worked for Victor? The same way I reconcile being a crime lord with being someone who wants to protect an innocent woman. People are complicated. We're all multiple things at once. Emma met his eyes. Are you a good person, Marco? The question hung between them. No, Marco said finally. But I'm trying to be better than I was yesterday. That's the best I can offer. It was the most honest thing anyone had ever said to her. Tonight, Emma said. The pier. What if Julian's telling the truth? What if he really does have information? Then I'll listen. Before I kill him. Marco. He tried to have me murdered, Emma. Sold out everything we built together. There's no forgiveness for that. Not in my world. And what happens to you when you kill him? When you cross that line with someone you loved like a brother? Marco's expression hardened. I've crossed worse lines. But Emma saw the lie. Saw the pain he was trying to hide. Killing Julian would destroy something in Marco. Something that might not heal. Before she could say more, Tony entered. Boss. We need to move up the timeline. Why? Julian's intermediary just called. Says Julian's spooked. Thinks Victor's onto him. He'll only wait until tonight. If we're not there by midnight, he runs. Marco stood. Then we go tonight. Full security detail is ready, Tony confirmed. Snipers positioned. Escape routes mapped. If this goes sideways, we'll have multiple exits. And Emma. Armored SUV bulletproof. Tony drives her out at first sign of trouble. Emma recited. I remember. Marco looked like he wanted to argue. To tell her to stay home where it was safe. But he'd already agreed. Gear up, he told Tony. We leave at 11. The day crawled by. Emma tried to focus on anything else. Her tutors arrived, but she couldn't concentrate on lesson plans. Lunch was tasteless. The afternoon felt like waiting for an execution. At 10 p.m., she dressed in dark, practical clothes. If tonight went wrong, she needed to be able to move. Marco found her at 10:30. He wore tactical gear under a dark jacket. He looked like what he was, a man going to war. Last chance to stay here, he offered. Not taking it. They rode in silence. 3 SUVs. 12 armed men. A convoy heading toward what might be an ambush or might be the truth. The old pier loomed out of the darkness. Abandoned warehouses lined the waterfront. Rusted metal. Broken windows. The smell of salt water and decay. "Stay in the vehicle," Marco ordered. "Doors locked. Windows up. Tony stays with you." Emma nodded. Watched as Marco and 6 of his men climbed out, weapons ready. They moved like shadows toward the designated meeting point, a warehouse at the end of the pier. Minutes ticked by. 5, 10, 15. Then a figure emerged from the warehouse. Julian. Even from a distance, Emma could see he looked terrible. Thinner. Haunted. He raised his hands, showing he was unarmed. Marco approached slowly. They stood 10 feet apart, 2 men who'd once been brothers, now separated by betrayal. Emma couldn't hear the words, but she could see the body language. Julian talking fast. Marco listening, rigid. Then Julian pulled something from his pocket. Marco's men raised their weapons. But it was just a phone. Julian held it out. Marco took it, looked at the screen. His posture changed. Tension becoming shock. What was on that phone? Then everything went wrong. Lights exploded from every direction. Dozens of them. Surrounding the warehouse. Surrounding the SUVs. "Ambush!" Tony shouted. "We need to move now." But before he could start the engine, men emerged from the shadows. Victor's crew. Dozens of them. They had the convoy surrounded. Emma's door was ripped open. Hands grabbed her, hauling her out despite her struggles. "No!" Tony tried to reach her, but a gun to his head stopped him cold. Emma was dragged toward the warehouse. Toward Marco. She fought every step, but her captors were too strong. Viktor Volkov stepped into the light. He smiled. "Marco, so glad you could make it. And you brought your lovely bride. How perfect." Marco's gun was pointed at Viktor, but 20 weapons were pointed at Marco. His men. Emma. Mexican standoff. "Let her go," Marco said, his voice deadly calm. "This is between us." "But that's where you're wrong," Viktor replied. "This was never between us. This was about your empire. Your territory. Your weakness." He gestured to Julian. Tell him the truth." Julian looked at Marco, and Emma saw tears on his face. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, brother. They have my daughter." Marco's expression flickered. "What?" "Sophia. Victor's crew took her 3 months ago. Said they'd kill her if I didn't cooperate. Feed them information. Help set you up. I didn't want to, Marco. I swear I didn't want to, but she's my little girl. She's only 8 years old." The gun in Marco's hand lowered slightly. "You should have told me. We could have." "Could have what?" "Gone to war. She'd be dead before you found her." Julian's voice broke. Vivian didn't know at first. But Victor got to her too. Promised her money, safety. She was always ambitious. Always wanted more than you could give her. "Where's your daughter now?" Marco asked. "Safe," Victor interjected. "Released this morning as promised." Julian fulfilled his contract. "He destroyed your marriage. Damaged your reputation. Fed me every piece of intelligence I needed." Victor pulled out his own gun, pressed it to Emma's temple. "And now he's served his final purpose. Bringing you here." Emma's breath stopped. The cold metal against her skin was a promise of death. "You kill her, I kill you," Marco said. "Perhaps. But you'll still lose her. That's what this is about, Marco. Making you lose everything you care about. The way you made me lose everything. I don't even know you." "Not me. My brother. Alexei Volkov. 10 years ago you killed him in a territory dispute. Shot him in the head and left him in the street like garbage." Marco's eyes widened with recognition. "The warehouse shooting. He came at me with a knife. It was self-defense. It was murder." Victor's control cracked. "He was 20 years old. My baby brother. And you took him from me. So now I take everything from you. A wife. Your best friend. Your empire. And finally your new bride. The woman you married to show strength. I'll kill her and show everyone that Marco DeLuca can't even protect his own wife. Please, Emma heard herself say. Please, whatever happened between you and Marco, I wasn't part of it. I'm just collateral damage, Victor finished. I know. That's what my brother was too. Collateral in Marco's rise to power. But that's how this world works. Marco's gun came back up. Let her go. Or what? You'll shoot me. My men will kill you, your crew, and her anyway. You're out of moves, Marco. You've lost. And Emma realized he was right. This wasn't an ambush. It was an execution. Victor had orchestrated everything. Julian's betrayal. The peer meeting. Trap. They were going to die here. Marco seemed to realize it too. She saw the calculation in his eyes. The desperate search for an exit that didn't exist. Then he did something Emma didn't expect. He dropped his gun. You want revenge? Marco said. Fine. Take it. Kill me. I'm the one who killed your brother. Emma has nothing to do with this. Let her go and you can do whatever you want to me. Marco, no. Emma struggled against her captor's grip. Touching, Victor said. But insufficient. I don't want just your death. I want your suffering. I want you to watch her die knowing you couldn't save her. Just like I watched my brother bleed out knowing I couldn't save him. Victor's finger tightened on the trigger. Time slowed. Emma saw Marco's face. The anguish. The helplessness. This man who'd built an empire, who commanded fear and respect, was powerless to save her. Just like she'd been powerless to save her brother. The irony was almost funny. Then Julian moved. He lunged at Victor, grabbing his gun hand, forcing it away from Emma's head. Run, he shouted. The gun went off. The bullet went wild. Then everything was chaos. Marco's men opened fire. Victor's crew returned it. Muzzle flashes lit the darkness like lightning. Emma was shoved to the ground, her captor using her as a shield. She heard Marco screaming her name. Then an explosion. One of the SUVs erupted in flames, the shockwave throwing bodies like ragdolls. Emma's ears rang. Smoke filled her lungs. She couldn't see. Couldn't breathe. Hands grabbed her. She fought on instinct. Emma. It's me. Marco's voice. His face appeared through the smoke. Blood on his forehead. We have to move. He hauled her up. They ran through the chaos. Bullets whizzed past. Men screamed. The pier was a war zone. They made it to one of the remaining SUVs. Tony was already inside, engine running. Get in. Marco shoved Emma into the back seat, diving in after her. Tony floored it, tires screaming as they fishtailed away from the warehouse. Emma looked back through the rear window. The pier was engulfed in flames. Bodies littered the ground. She couldn't tell who was alive or dead. Julian, Marco said, his voice hollow. I saw him. Victor shot him. He's dead. Emma's hand found Marco's. Squeeze. He saved my life. He saved both of us. He was trying to save his daughter the whole time. And I thought. Marco's voice broke. I thought he betrayed me for money. For Vivian. But he was trying to protect his child. You couldn't have known. I should have known. I should have seen it. Should have asked instead of assuming. Marco pulled his hand away, staring at the blood on his palms. I've lost everything. Julian's dead. Half my crew is dead. Victor's still out there. And it's my fault. All of it. Marco. I killed his brother 10 years ago and didn't even remember his name. Didn't care enough to remember. And it destroyed everything. He looked at Emma with eyes full of grief. You were right. When I kill, pieces of me die too. I've killed so many pieces there's almost nothing left. The SUV raced through empty streets. Behind them sirens wailed. Police. Fire trucks. The pier would be swarming with authorities within minutes. Where are we going? Emma asked Tony. Safe house. Outside the city. We need to disappear until we can assess the damage. Marco's phone rang. He answered, listened. his expression going from grief to shock. What? Emma asked. What is it? Marco lowered the phone slowly. That was my contact in the police department. They just raided my estate. Anonymous tip about illegal weapons. Victor called it in. My house is crawling with cops. Can they find anything? Enough to arrest me if I go back there. Marco laughed bitterly. He planned everything. Even if I survived tonight, I'd lose my base of operations. My home. Everything. Emma felt the weight of it. This wasn't just a battle. It was total war. And they were losing. The safe house turned out to be a cabin an hour outside the city. Isolated. Nothing like the estate's luxury. Tony did a security sweep while Marco and Emma sat in the main room, exhausted, traumatized, and covered in soot and blood. I'm sorry, Marco said quietly. I brought you into this. Promised you safety and nearly got you killed. You should have stayed in that hotel. Should have let me die in the ambush. Don't, Emma said. It's true. Everything I touch turns to ash. My marriage. My friendship. My empire. Now you. Emma turned to face him. Look at me. Marco met her eyes. I'm not ash, Emma said firmly. I'm alive. You're alive. We survived. That counts for something. Julian didn't survive. My men didn't survive. No, they didn't. And that's a tragedy you'll carry forever. But you don't honor their deaths by giving up. You honor them by surviving, by fighting, by being better than the violence that killed them. I don't know how to be better. This is all I know. Blood and war and revenge. Emma took his hands. They were shaking. This powerful man who commanded an empire was shaking like a child. Then learn something new, she said. We both will. Because neither of us can go back to who we were before tonight. My brother was a criminal. Your best friend was a victim. Your wife was a traitor. Everything we believed was wrong. So we build something new. Together. Why? Marco's voice was raw. Why do you care? You could walk away. I give you money, a new identity. You could be free of this. Because 3 days ago I was alone. Struggling. Surviving day by day with no hope for anything better. Then you gave me hope. Future. My mother in a good facility. Chance to finish my degree. A purpose. Emma's voice caught. And maybe it started as a transaction. Protection for legitimacy. But it's not anymore. At least not for me. What is it now? Emma realized she was crying. It's two broken people trying to save each other from drowning. And I'm not ready to give up on that. Are you? Marco stared at her. Really looked at her like he was seeing her for the first time. Then he pulled her into his arms. Not a romantic embrace. A desperate one. Two survivors clinging to each other in the wreckage. Emma held him while his shoulders shook. Held him while he grieved for Julian. For his shattered world. For the man he'd been and could never be again. And she grieved too. For David. For her innocence. For the simple life she'd never get back. They stayed like that until dawn broke through the cabin windows. When they finally pulled apart, something had changed. The space between them felt different. More real. More fragile. More important. Victor won, Marco said quietly. He destroyed my empire. Killed my people. Took everything. Not everything, Emma corrected. He didn't take us. We're still here. Still fighting. And what do we fight with? Have no home. No resources. Half my crew is dead or scattered. The police are looking for me. Victor has won. Tony entered the room. His expression was grim. Boss, you need to see this. He turned on the television. Every news channel was covering the same story. Pier massacre leaves 15 dead. Authorities searching for Mafia boss Marco De Luca. Marco's photo filled the screen. Then footage of his estate being raided. Then worst of all, Emma's photo. Police are also searching for Emma Carter De Luca, the hotel maid who married Mr. De Luca days ago. Authorities suspect she may be held against her will or may be a willing accomplice to organized crime. Emma's stomach dropped. They think I'm a criminal. Victor's framing both of you, Tony said. He's painted you as fugitives. Every cop in the state is looking for you. Marco stood pacing. We can't run forever. Eventually they'll find us. So what do we do? Emma asked. Marco stopped pacing. Looked at her. Tony. At the news coverage showing his empire in ruins. Then something shifted in his expression. The grief was still there. But underneath it something harder. Something determined. We stop running, Marco said. And we fight back. How? Tony asked. Victor has everything. Resources. Territory. The element of surprise. He has everything except what matters, Marco replied. He has power built on fear. I'm going to build something different. What? Marco looked at Emma. Something worth fighting for. Not an empire. Not territory. Something real. Boss, I don't understand. Victor thinks he's won because he took my kingdom. But kingdoms can be rebuilt. What he didn't take is my will to survive. To protect the people who matter. Marco's voice grew stronger. Julian died saving us. My men died protecting us. I'm not going to let that be for nothing. What's the play? Tony asked. First, we contact every crew that's ever had a problem with Victor. Offer them alliance. Second, we go public. Tell our side of the story. Show the world who Victor really is. Third, we find proof of every illegal thing he's ever done and hand it to the authorities. If I'm going down, I'm taking him with me. That's suicide, Tony said. The moment we surface, he'll come for us. Let him come, Marco replied. This time I'll be ready. This time, I know exactly what I'm fighting for. He looked at Emma. And Emma understood. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't even about survival. It was about redemption. For both of them. I'm with you, Emma said. Whatever it takes. Marco nodded. Then let's show Victor what happens when you back desperate people into a corner. You don't get surrender. You get war. Outside the cabin, the sun rose on a new day. A day where everything had changed. Marco De Luca had lost his empire. But he'd found something more valuable. A reason to fight back. The plan took 3 days to execute. 3 days of Marco working phones. Calling in every favor he'd ever earned. 3 days of Emma learning exactly how deep the criminal underworld ran. 3 days of turning the hunted into hunters. The cabin became a war room. Tony coordinated with the remnants of Marco's crew. Maps covered the walls. Surveillance photos. Financial records. Everything they could dig up on Viktor Volkov. And there was a lot to dig up. He's not just running criminal enterprises, Tony explained, pointing to a web of shell corporations. He's laundering money for 3 terrorist organizations. Arms dealing with enemies of the state. Human trafficking across 4 countries. Can we prove it? Marco asked. We can now. Tony pulled up files on his laptop. I've got a contact in the FBI. She's been trying to nail Victor for years but could never get evidence. If we hand her this, she'll move fast. And what do we get in exchange? Emma asked. Immunity, Marco said. For both of us. We give them Victor, they clear our names. Make the peer shooting self-defense. Drop any charges. Will they agree to that? If the evidence is good enough, yes. Marco looked at the files, then at Emma. But there's a catch. To make the case airtight, we need Victor's personal records. His real books. And those are in only one place. Where? Emma asked, though she already knew the answer. His estate. In a vault that only he can access. Marco's expression was grim. We have to go in. Get the records. Get out before he realizes what's happening. That's impossible, Tony said. His security is tighter than Fort Knox. Cameras everywhere. Armed guards. Biometric locks. We'd never make it past the front gate. We don't use the front gate, Marco replied. We use an invitation. Emma's eyes widened. You're going to walk in the front door. Not me. Us. Marco turned to her. Victor's hosting a gala tomorrow night. Annual charity event. Politicians, business leaders, criminals hiding behind legitimate businesses. It's a show of power. A celebration of his victory over me. So we crash the party. We get invited. I've already reached out through intermediaries. Told Victor I want to negotiate surrender. Hand over what's left of my territory in exchange for safe passage out of the country. He'll never believe that. He will if you sell it. Marco's voice was gentle. I need you to call Victor. Tell him you're leaving me. That you're terrified. That you'll cooperate if he promises you protection. Emma's blood chilled. You want me to betray you. I want you to pretend to betray me. Victor's ego won't let him pass up the opportunity to flip my own wife against me. He'll bring you to the gala as a trophy. Proof that he's won completely. And then what? Then you get him talking. Keep him distracted while I access the vault. Tony will coordinate our exit. We get the files, hand them to the FBI, and end this. It was insane. Reckless. A dozen things could go wrong. But it was also their only shot. Okay, Emma said. I'll do it. Marco's jaw tightened. If anything goes wrong, if you're in danger for even a second, abort. Get out. Your life is worth more than any evidence. Our lives, Emma corrected. You don't get to play martyr. We both make it out or neither of us does. Something passed between them. An understanding that had been building since that first night in the stairwell. This wasn't just partnership anymore. It wasn't just survival. It was something neither of them had expected to find. The next day, Emma made the call. Her hands shook as she dialed Victor's number. Marco sat across from her, listening on a second line. His expression unreadable. Mrs. DeLuca, Victor's accented voice purred. What a pleasant surprise. I need your help, Emma said, forcing her voice to tremble. Please. I don't know who else to call. Slow down. Tell me what's happened. It's Marco. He's not the man I thought he was. After the pier, after everything, he's changed. He's talking about revenge. About killing you no matter the cost. He says he doesn't care if we both die as long as you go down too. And this frightens you. I'm terrified. I never wanted any of this. I just wanted to survive. But he's dragging me deeper into this war and I can't. I can't do this anymore. Silence. Victor was calculating. Assessing. Where is Marco now? He asked. Asleep. We're at some cabin. I don't even know where. He doesn't tell me anything anymore. Emma let her voice break. I heard him talking to his men. He's planning something for tomorrow night. Something at your gala. Please, I just want out. I just want my life back. More silence. Then. Can you get away? Without him knowing? I think so. He trusts me. Doesn't think I have anywhere to run. Then run to me. Victor's voice was silk over steel. I'll send a car. You tell me everything Marco's planning and I'll give you what you want. New life. Far from this world. You have my word. Emma met Marco's eyes across the table. He nodded. Okay, Emma whispered. Okay, yes. Thank you. She gave Victor the address of a location Tony had scouted. Public. Visible. Safe enough for extraction if needed. When she hung up, her whole body was shaking. You were perfect, Marco said quietly. I feel like I'm going to throw up. That's the adrenaline. It means you're alive. Marco moved around the table, pulled her into his arms. Thank you. For trusting me. For doing this. Emma buried her face in his chest. Don't let me die tomorrow night. I won't. I promise. Marco pulled back, cupped her face in his hands. Emma, if this goes wrong. If I don't make it out. Don't. Listen. If I don't make it, Tony has instructions. Money. Documents. Everything you need for that new life we talked about. Your mother will be taken care of. You'll be safe. Marco. And I need you to know. He hesitated, searching for words. These last few days with you have been the most honest days of my life. You've seen the worst of me. The violence. The darkness. And you stayed anyway. That means more than I can say. Emma's eyes burned with tears. You've seen the worst of me too. The fear. The doubt. The broken pieces. And you stayed too. We're a mess, aren't we? The worst. Emma smiled through her tears. But maybe that's okay. Maybe broken people are the only ones who can really understand each other. Marco leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away. He didn't. Their lips met. Not the performative kiss from the wedding. Something real. Something that tasted like hope and desperation and the possibility of tomorrow. When they broke apart, both were breathing hard. After tomorrow, Marco said. When this is over, I want to do this right. Court you properly. Give you the choice to stay without the threat of Victor hanging over us. Let you decide if this is real or just survival instinct. And if I already know, Emma whispered, then I'm the luckiest man alive. The next evening, Victor's car arrived exactly on time. Black. Expensive. 2 armed guards. Emma climbed in, wearing the fear she didn't have to fake. The drive took 40 minutes. Into the city. To an estate that rivaled Marco's. Victor met her at the door personally. Mrs. DeLuca. You look terrified. But it means you're smart. He gestured for her to follow. Come. We have much to discuss before my guests arrive. Emma was led to an office. Lavish. Powerful. Everything designed to intimidate. Sit, Victor commanded. Tell me everything about Marco's plan. Emma sat, clasped her hands to stop them shaking. He's planning to infiltrate the gala. He has someone on your staff. Caterer, I think. They're going to smuggle him in. When? During the main event. When everyone's distracted. He's going after you personally. Victor smiled. Let him come. I'll have 50 armed men here tonight. If Marco DeLuca wants to die on my estate, I'll happily accommodate him. Please don't kill him, Emma said quietly. Whatever he's done, he doesn't deserve. Doesn't deserve. Victor's laugh was cold. He killed my brother. Left him bleeding in the street like an animal. Marco DeLuca deserves worse than death. He deserves to lose everything first. His empire. His freedom. His hope. He leaned forward. And his wife. You're going to stand beside me tonight. When Marco sees you, when he realizes you've betrayed him, the look on his face will be worth more than any bullet. Emma's stomach turned. But she nodded. Okay. Good girl. Victor checked his watch. Guests arrive in an hour. I'll have someone bring you appropriate attire. Tonight you're under my protection. Tomorrow you'll be on a plane to wherever you want to go. Free of Marco forever. He left her alone in the office. Emma counted to 60. Then pulled out the phone Tony had given her. Sent a single text. I'm in. He bought it. Execute phase 2. The response came immediately. On our way. Be ready. The gala was exactly as obscene as Emma expected. Champagne flowing. Designer gowns. Men and women who ran criminal empires pretending to be respectable. Emma stood beside Victor, wearing a dress his staff had provided. Crimson red. Expensive. She felt like a trophy. Smile, Victor murmured. Look happy. Show everyone that even Marco's wife prefers my company. Emma forced a smile. Scanned the crowd. Looking for Marco. For Tony. For any sign of their crew. Nothing. An hour passed. Then 2. The gala was in full swing. Had something gone wrong? Had they been caught before even entering? Then she saw him. Not Marco. Someone else. A waiter moving through the crowd with a tray of champagne. He caught Emma's eye for just a second. Tony. He was inside. Which meant Marco was too. Excuse me, Emma said to Victor. I need to use the restroom. Don't be long, Victor replied. I want you visible when Marco makes his move. Emma made her way through the crowd, heart pounding. She'd memorized the estate layout from the blueprints Tony had acquired. The vault was in the basement, accessed through Victor's private office. The same office where she'd been earlier. She reached the hallway. The party was 3 rooms away, but it felt like miles. A hand grabbed her arm. Emma gasped. Marco, dressed as catering staff, a hairnet covering his distinctive features. You okay? He whispered. Terrified. You. Same. He pulled her into an alcove. Victor bought the betrayal. Completely. He's expecting you to attack him during the gala. Perfect. That means his security is focused on the main floor. The vault should be clear. Marco checked his watch. We have 20 minutes before Tony triggers the distraction. Can you get me into Victor's office? I was just there. I think I can find it again. They moved through the corridors like ghosts. Emma's heels clicked too loud on marble floors. Every shadow felt like a threat. Victor's office appeared. The door was locked. Marco pulled out a small device. Pressed it to the lock. Beep. Click. The door swung open. Where'd you learn that? Emma whispered. YouTube. Surprisingly educational. Marco slipped inside. Emma followed, closing the door behind them. The vault was hidden behind a painting. Marco removed it, revealing a biometric scanner. Now the hard part, he muttered. He pulled out a small strip of latex. Victor's fingerprint, lifted from a glass earlier by Tony's infiltration team. Pressed it to the scanner. Nothing. Marco tried again. Still nothing. It's not working, Emma said, panic rising. Because it needs a living finger. The scanner reads pulse. Marco cursed. We need Victor here. Actually here. That wasn't the plan. Plans change. Marco pulled out his phone. Texted Tony. Trigger the distraction. Now. 30 seconds later, alarms erupted throughout the estate. Fire alarms. People screamed. The gala descended into chaos. Guests poured toward exits. And Victor would come here. To his office. To protect his most valuable possessions. Hide, Marco told Emma. Behind the desk. Don't come out no matter what happens. Marco, please. Trust me. Emma crouched behind the massive desk just as the office door burst open. Victor stormed in, phone to his ear, shouting in Russian. He went straight to the vault. Pressed his finger to the scanner. Beep. Started to open. Marco stepped from behind the door, gun raised. Hello, Victor. Victor spun. His hand went for his weapon. Don't, Marco warned. I'm faster. We both know it. Victor's hand stilled. Marco, you're even more foolish than I thought. My men will be here in seconds. Your men are busy evacuating a building they think is on fire. We have time. Marco gestured to the vault. Step away. So you can steal my records. Hand them to the authorities. I expected better from you. You wanted me to suffer like you suffered. To lose everything like you lost your brother. Marco's voice was steady. You succeeded. I've lost my empire. My best friend died because of me. The woman I thought I loved betrayed me. I've lost everything. Then why not just accept defeat? Because I learned something these last few days. Marco glanced toward the desk where Emma hid. I learned that an empire built on fear isn't worth keeping. That the only thing worth fighting for is the people you love. Your brother, Alexei. I remember him now. He was young, stupid. But he loved you. That's why he fought me. To prove himself to you. Victor's expression cracked. Don't speak his name. He deserved better than to die in a warehouse. And you deserve better than to become the monster that his death created. Marco lowered his gun slightly. This ends tonight. Not with more death. With justice. Real justice. You go to prison for your crimes. I go free for cooperating. And we both live with the consequences of our choices. You think I'll just surrender? I think you're tired. Just like me. Tired of the violence. The revenge. The endless cycle. Marco's voice softened. Your brother wouldn't want this. Wouldn't want you to destroy yourself trying to destroy me. For a moment, just a moment, something human flickered in Victor's eyes. Then it hardened. You're wrong. Alexei would want blood. Victor moved. Yes. Drawing his weapon. Marco fired. The shot was precise. Victor's gun clattered to the floor. He grabbed his shoulder, blood seeping between his fingers. Stay down, Marco ordered. But Victor lunged. Not for his gun. For Marco. They crashed into the bookshelf. Books tumbled. They grappled, two men fighting for dominance. Emma watched from her hiding spot, frozen. She should run. Should get help. Instead, she grabbed Victor's fallen gun. The men separated. Victor pulled a knife from his jacket. Marco dodged, but the blade caught his arm. Blood flowed. Victor raised the knife for another strike. Stop! Emma stood, gun raised, hands shaking. Stop or I'll shoot. Both men froze. Victor looked at her. Started laughing. The maid. With a gun. This is how it ends. This is how it ends, Emma confirmed. With me choosing to be brave instead of scared. With Marco choosing justice instead of revenge. With you choosing to surrender instead of die. And if I don't surrender, then I shoot you, Emma said. And I live with it. Because some people are worth protecting. Even if it costs me my soul. Victor studied her. Saw the truth in her eyes. She would pull the trigger. He dropped the knife. You've both gone soft. Love has made you weak. No, Marco said, retrieving his gun. Love has made us strong enough to choose a different path. Sirens wailed in the distance. Real ones this time. The FBI responding to Tony's call. It's over, Victor, Marco said. The FBI has everything. Your financials. Your trafficking operations. Your terrorist connections. You'll spend the rest of your life in prison. As will you. No. Cut a deal. Immunity in exchange for testimony and evidence. Marco pulled documents from the vault. Your empire falls tonight. Mine already fell. The difference is I get a second chance. You don't. Federal agents poured into the estate. Into the office. Guns drawn. Viktor Volkov, you're under arrest, the lead agent announced. Viktor was handcuffed. As they led him away, he locked eyes with Marco one final time. This isn't over. Yes, Marco said quietly. It is. When the office finally cleared, when statements had been given and evidence secured, Emma and Marco stood alone. Marco's arm was bandaged. Emma's hands had finally stopped shaking. We did it, Emma said. You did it. You could have run. Should have run. But you stayed. You saved my life. Again. I told you. I don't abandon people. Marco pulled her close. I know this started as a transaction. Protection for legitimacy. A marriage on paper. But Emma, somewhere in the chaos it became real for me. You became real for me. For me too, Emma admitted. I was so focused on surviving that I forgot what living felt like. You reminded me. I'm still a mess. I've still done terrible things. I'll be testifying in trials for the next year. My name will always be connected to this world. And I'm still a maid with student debt and a sick mother and more issues than any person should have. We're both disasters. Disasters together. Emma smiled. I can't think of anyone I'd rather be a disaster with. They kissed, long and deep and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, dawn was breaking through the office windows. New day. A new beginning. 6 months later, Emma stood in front of a classroom of 8th graders, teaching literature. Her degree hung on the wall behind her. She'd earned it 3 weeks ago. Her mother was thriving at Silver Pine Manor. Emma visited every weekend. Sometimes her mom remembered her. Sometimes she didn't. But she was safe. Cared for. That was what mattered. Marco was building something different now. Not a criminal empire. Legitimate business. Security consulting for companies wanting to protect themselves from people like he used to be. It was honest work. Hard work. But it was clean. They lived in a modest house in the suburbs. Nothing like the estate. But it was theirs. Real. Earned. That evening, Emma came home to find Marco cooking dinner. Actually cooking, not having it prepared by staff. "How was school?" he asked. "Good. One of my students turned in an essay about redemption. About how people can change if they choose to. Smart kid. I think she learned it from her teacher." Marco smiled. Pulled Emma into his arms. "And where did the teacher learn it?" "From a man in a stairwell who chose to protect civilians instead of chase revenge. Who chose justice instead of violence. Who chose love instead of fear. That man was an idiot who got lucky. That man was brave. And broken. And perfect." They swayed together in the kitchen, no music playing. Just the sound of their breathing and the life they were building. "I have something for you," Marco said. He pulled a small box from his pocket. Emma's heart skipped. "Marco. I know we're already married. But that was survival. This is choice." He opened the box. Inside was a simple gold band. "Emma Carter DeLuca, will you marry me again? For real this time? 'Cause I choose you. Every day. For the rest of my life." Tears streamed down Emma's face. "Yes. Yes, 1,000 times yes." Marco slipped the ring onto her finger, next to the platinum band she still wore. "2 rings," Emma observed. "One for the woman who saved me. One for the woman I love. Both are you." They kissed as the sun set through their kitchen window. 2 broken people who'd found each other in the darkest moment. Who'd chosen to be better. To be braver. To be whole. Outside, the world spun on. Victor was serving 30 consecutive life sentences. Vivian had disappeared. Last seen boarding a flight to South America. Julian's daughter Sophia was being raised by her maternal grandparents, free from the criminal world that had taken her father. And in a modest house in the suburbs, a former Mafia boss and a hotel maid built a life worth living. Not because it was easy, but because they'd chosen each other. Chosen hope. Chosen love. The kind of love that survives betrayal and bullets and the darkness of the past. The kind of love that transforms. Emma thought back to that night in the hotel stairwell. When she'd stopped a stranger to warn him of danger. When she'd expected nothing and gained everything. "What are you thinking about?" Marco asked. "That night. When we met. I almost didn't say anything. Almost just let you walk into that ambush." "Why didn't you?" "Because I believed everyone deserves a chance to be better than their worst moment." Emma smiled. "I'm glad I was right." "So am I," Marco said. "So am I." They stood together as darkness fell, holding each other, knowing tomorrow would bring its own challenges. But they'd face them together. A Mafia boss who'd learned that power wasn't worth having if you had no one to share it with. A maid who'd learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is give someone a second chance. And a marriage that started as a desperate protection became the realest thing either of them had ever known. In the end, that was the greatest victory of all. Not defeating Victor. Not surviving the violence. Not escaping the past. But choosing love when everything else had been taken away. And building something beautiful from the ashes. Thank you so much for joining Emma and Marco on their journey. This story of redemption, transformation, and unexpected love reminds us that sometimes our darkest moments lead us to our greatest light. If this story touched you, please leave a comment below. Where are you watching from? Have you ever given someone a second chance that changed everything? I'd love to hear your stories. And remember, we're all broken in some way, but that doesn't mean we can't be whole together. Until the next story, take care of yourself, and never stop believing in the possibility of redemption.